least likely to survive by his high school classmates growing up in Oklahoma, Tommy Morrison will try to survive when he enters the ring Monday night against Big George Foreman in Morrison's biggest fight of his turbulent career. Our Charlie Steiner was in Vegas for the tipping of the scales.
The 24-year-old Morrison stepped on the scale first and weighed in at exactly 226 pounds, which is exactly where he wanted to be. George Foreman then got on the scale, and Big George wasn't as big as he thought he would be. Only 256 pounds. Tail of the tape gives Foreman most of the advantage, 30 pounds, 2 inches in height, 1 inch in reach. Age, though, could, of course, be the telling story here. 20 years age difference. After the weigh-in, we talked with both fighters, and George was quite surprised, in fact, at what he weighed.
I thought I was 265. I had no idea I'd gotten this small. I was wondering why my pants were fitting me. I didn't know what was wrong. But I'm lower than the Holyfield fight was a pound lower. And I had a good breakfast this morning, so I must have been even lower than that.
Between now and fight time, how much more weight do you suppose you will put on?
I'll be about 265 for certain, because I get a chance to eat some lunch, some dinner, and then tomorrow, boy, I'll be 265 for sure.
I've been here once before, and I kind of felt the pressure, what it's like to be in front of a huge group of people, also fighting for a world title. And I didn't handle it well the first time, but it's been over 2 years ago. It's been a long, hard climb. I've gotten used to the idea, and another thing is I've started accepting responsibility to go along with being a heavyweight champion.
Tommy Morrison, of course, not quite yet the heavyweight champion of the world. He may take a step in that direction tomorrow night in his battle with George Foreman. We will have highlights, analysis, and interviews immediately after the fight on the 11:30 Eastern Time edition of SportsCenter. For now, Charlie Steiner, ESPN in Las Vegas, sending it back to SportsCenter.
Thank you, Charles. Later on in the big show, we devote the Sunday conversation to George Foreman, his own self, boxer, role model, well, stomach role model, and of course, sitcom star.
Yeah, he could be bigger than Seinfeld.
Let's get the record straight. George Foreman never fought John L. Sullivan. He never boxed 50 rounds bare knuckle. That little boy in the commercial, George Foreman V, is not his great-great-grandson. But yes, it is 20 years since he bashed Joe Frazier for the heavyweight championship of the world, and now he fights again in what he says may be his last bout against Tommy Morrison. He and Nolan Ryan represent something priceless in sports today. They are time having stopped still. The Sunday Conversation. Charlie Steiner with George Foreman, Ageless Wonder.
George, what would you miss the most about not fighting anymore?
This time I've really enjoyed the crowd. I go to the workouts and I talk to the public. I meet people. I see people who've been pulling and praying for me, and I'm going to miss that. Before I work out, may want to ask a couple of questions of the guy who was champion of the world 20 years ago. I'm going to really miss it, knowing that someone else is going to have it when I leave. It's going to be hard to go. I'm going to jump up in the night and miss it. You know, when I see you guys following another great champion, I'm going to drop a tear or two.
How are you going to substitute the adrenaline that you get from the attention that you receive? I mean, is that a source of concern? You're going to have to get on and be a regular guy.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest with you, for 10 years, I was a regular guy. That's the reason I enjoy the public so much. During the years, nobody knew me. I didn't have the mustache and the hair anymore. I was just some great big 300-pound guy walking around. People would grab me and embrace me. Hey, big one, you can have the last steak. Hey, big guy, I'll give you a jump start. Hey, let me pay you. Nah.
And you missed being a fighter.
I thought I would miss it, but these people took great care of me because they liked me. So I'm not afraid to move back into just being a regular guy, because stewardess give you the bigger seat. They give you even an extra piece of meat. So people will take good care of you, but I'm just going to miss the action of the boxing and all the in crowd, that kind of thing. That can be hard, but people, they're going to take care of me. I'm going back up to 300 pounds. Bacon is going to get the extra meat at the butcher store. Some lady walk in and say, I'll let him have it. He needs it.
Michael Jordan, you're a big basketball fan who, of course, had all sorts of problems in the past week with the media. He won't talk to the media. You have had a wonderful relationship with the media. What is the secret that you have had that apparently Michael and some others don't understand?
Well, you got to love it. You really got to love it, and you can't think of, and I had the first time around, I wanted to have the money. That's it. I wanted to be heavyweight champion of the world, the interviews, get away from me. Just give me the money. And everything else made me upset. Second time around, I realized, hey, if I could be champ of the world again, if I could be in front of the crowd in the ring, I'd talk to the reporters. I'd cut every clipping out. I'd read it. I'd love it. I'd paste it in the book. This time around, my kids can really believe I was there. So part of it is I love every aspect of sports. I still save the videos on the interviews. I love it. The thing that can make you survive is you got to love it.
Some feel, as Jordan does, that we infringe on his personal life.
But we don't. Who has a personal life in the first place? I lived for 10 years, and people knew every time my wife and me were having an argument, they'd pass it down the street, and I had to drop my head as I drive down the street. Foreman and Mrs. Foreman arguing again. She's packing up. She's going to leave him. So there's no such thing as a personal life. More people know about it when you're popular. But as a rule, neighbors know what's going on. You can live with it. I love it. People say all kind of things, but you never take it serious because nobody can take away who you are, what you do. You are that special person. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it. If I was Michael Jordan, I'd read in the paper something about me, I'd tear it up, put it in some big paper, save it for my kids to remember it, my grandkids. Boy, I'd love to be him. I'd jump up and say, see there? I would love being Michael Jordan.
And there's George holding up the American flag in the center of the ring before thousands of impressed spectators and millions more of television viewers.
You came home from the Olympics disillusioned by the reaction that you received back home.
I was a teenager. There, I'd go to a party with my dashiki on, and I'd look on kids had on the wall at a party of a picture of John Carlos and Tommy Smith with the glove. They were popular. And there weren't any posters of George Foreman with the flag. And it was like, what are you doing here? That hurt for a long time because I was young. I didn't understand anything. I didn't do it as a protest or an anti-protest waving that flag. I just wanted everybody to know where I was from the United States of America. And I bowed to the judges and I waved. To this day, I'm still proud of that. And a lot of people did stop me on the street, friends of mine, and asked, well, how could you do that? And it hurt for a long time. As a matter of fact, they started putting a chip on my shoulder. And it was a long time before I dropped that chip because I did what I wanted to do. And people didn't like it. I was going to beat them up.
But that chip lingered for a long time, didn't it?
Long time. I mean, I had a lot of hate for anyone that would stand up to me and doubt me. I mean, I was mean. I didn't play mean.
But that also fed the image that you had in your first go-around and how Sonny Liston was, in fact, maybe a role model.
Yeah, because I was getting this chip building and I met Sonny Liston. He was my stablemate. He didn't speak to people. A lot of times people would ask for an autograph, he'd walk away. So I started to copy a lot of things from Sonny. I figured, hey, he's champ of the world. That's the way you treat people.
He also had the chip on his shoulder. He was the bad guy. And for the first portion of your career, so were you.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how these things happen. I mean, one of my best friends asked me, why? Not a best friend, but in my neighborhood, how could you wave that American flag? And that started something within me. It was like, nobody, I'm not going to let anybody get close enough to hurt me again.
The source of it, or much of the source, was the flag then?
It all started there. It all started. And the proudest day of my life, winning that gold medal, and someone would have the nerve and ask me, what did you do that for?
On Monday night, you go into the ring probably for the last time. You now have an opportunity to tell the folks how you would like them to remember you as a fighter.
Well, I don't truly want to be remembered as a fighter. Just want to be remembered as a fun guy. A guy who enjoyed what he was doing. When I got out there in the ring, the bell ring, I didn't want the cameras to leave off me. I wanted to still kind of speak and let everybody see me, and I was still trying to suck in my stomach, you know, like the average guy next door. I was having a lot of fun. It's fun working. If you're doing what you want to do, that's how I want to be remembered, just as a fun guy, not a boxer. That's too small.
George Foreman, an American institution. Tommy Morrison, the up-and-coming slugger from the nation's heartland. Two symbols of the American spirit, headed for a collision.
Let's get ready for rumble!
This is going to be a star-spangled battle. See the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash for the WBO Heavyweight Championship, Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view.
Johnny,
on, sit the jab.
Tommy Morrison, get in here right now.
Oh, Mom.
And there's another left hook. And Morrison's got it.
That Morrison is good. Real good.
It was just announced Tommy Morrison will fight former champion George Foreman for the WBO heavyweight championship.
See the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash for the WBO heavyweight championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view.
On Monday night, June 7th, the grand old man of boxing, Big George Foreman, battles Tommy the Duke Morrison for the WBO World Heavyweight title. There's a pre-show at 8 o'clock p.m., followed by 3 live fights at 9 o'clock on Impulse Channel 21A. Plus, as an added bonus for everyone who buys this event, we'll be mailing you a coupon good towards 1 free viewing of Playboy TV. And now let's take a look at George and Tommy as they prepare for their star-spangled battle.
George Foreman, an American institution. Tommy Morrison, the up-and-coming slugger from the nation's heartland. Two symbols of the American spirit, headed for a collision.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This is going to be a star-spangled battle. Catch the fireworks as the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash head-on for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view. Call now to order. It's coming, June 7th.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Live from Las Vegas.
Presenting the former heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman!
The site, the Thomas and Mack Center.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy the Duke Morrison.
It's the star-spangled battle.
Expect a tough, clean fight. Let's get it on.
When Evander stops punching, George gets a chance, and he's making the most of it right now. And that is the weapon that made Tommy Morrison a potential contender, proud on its feet.
There's the uppercut that Angelo called for.
Another dramatic power punching comeback for Tommy Morrison.
It's George Foreman's last fight. And that's of historical significance. That's like watching Babe Ruth in his last game, or Gordie Howe in his last game, to see a piece of historical significance happening.
It's the end of the biggest comeback story in boxing history. Big George Foreman will probably enter the ring for the last time.
This is going to be a tough fight for me, and I've already fought it within my mind over and over. I know I'm going to get hurt a few times in this fight. I know I can get up from a knockdown. I know I'm not afraid to bleed. There's no unanswered questions. I can do anything in this ring. I love the ring. I own the ring. I wish I owned Tommy Morrison.
June 7th will also be a momentous occasion for Tommy Morrison. The opportunity to match his skills against a boxing legend in a fight that could either end his career or propel him to an even higher level.
A lot of people pay money to be in what you call a fantasy baseball camp in Florida to play against the game's legends. This is the same sort of situation with me, but I'm not paying to be there. They're paying me to be there. And I kind of like the attraction of that.
The other attraction will be a sold-out arena of over 19,000 fans and the glitter and glamour of Hollywood descending on Las Vegas.
I think it'll be a very special night for boxing. It's something that people have been wanting to see for a long time.
George Foreman versus Tommy Morrison, a star-spangled battle.
You don't want to miss the fireworks.
George Foreman, an American institution. Tommy Morrison, the up-and-coming slugger from the nation's heartland. Two symbols of the American spirit, headed for a collision.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This is going to be a star-spangled battle. Catch the fireworks as the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash head-on for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view. Call now to order.
Been the most artistic combination George has thrown in a long time.
And there's the left hook, and down goes
Can an older, stationary fighter fend off an aggressive younger opponent? Can a rising contender handle the pressure of the big event? Will George Foreman's age finally be the enemy within? Will Tommy Morrison's stamina last if he's got to go the distance? George Foreman versus Tommy Morrison. Their styles could create major fireworks.
I think this could be the most two-sided fight in the history of boxing. You could hold this in a phone booth, I don't think it would matter. There ain't gonna be a lot of dancing. Nobody's gonna mistake this for Roseland. This is a fight, and it's gonna be a hell of a fight.
At 44 years old, everyone still talks about George Foreman's power. The power that's made him the greatest knockout artist in the history of the heavyweight division.
He comes forward and he makes things happen. He's a guy that never takes a step backwards. He's a guy that when people pay money to see a George Foreman fight, they always feel like they're going to get their money's worth because of the fact that they know something exciting and something powerful is going to happen.
Morrison's defense is suspect, and against Foreman's power and mystique, he'll have a big obstacle to overcome.
Well, I think the same problem that I have with George is the same problem that everybody has had, and it's his power. And I think if I can put together what Alex Stewart, what Evander Holyfield did, and put it into a winning repertoire along with what has brought me this far, that's been a very elusive, very explosive type athlete. I think that we have kind of a winning combination.
But Morrison's combinations will have to break through Foreman's unique defense if he's to be successful, while avoiding Foreman's biggest weapon, the sledgehammer jab. The one punch that's like a fine line. It's gotten better with age.
I can hit you with 2 or 3 of them and even whip you all night with it if I'm in good shape. So my jab today is better than when I was young. When I fought Joe Frazier, for instance, I didn't want to land jabs. I would have wanted to get it over with. So I threw a lot of wild shots, uppercuts, and things of that nature. But today, I'm very confident in a jab. But I've had several knockouts, and they weren't by jabs.
While Foreman tries to chop down and frustrate his opponents, Tommy Morrison's aggressive style relies on the strongest left hook in boxing. A punch Foreman hasn't seen since fighting Joe Frazier 20 years ago.
My major concern is for Morrison. He has a good left hook. He throws it with authority, and he's confident in it. Every time he throws it, he expects someone to hit the canvas. So that bothers me. So what I'm going to try to do, throw one back at him. Every time he hits me one, I'm going to try to hit him back until he stops.
And when Morrison gets hit by those heavy-handed fists of Foreman and is under incredible pressure, will he be able to stay poised and fire back?
That's definitely the key to this bout. Tommy has to remain poised. He has to stay under control. Obviously, Tommy's the faster athlete. He's got youth on his side, but with youth comes inexperience. He has to grow up in this bout. He has to mature. On the other hand, George is relying strictly on one thing, and that's experience.
There are also several intangibles in the star-spangled battle. The strategy.
Tommy Morrison will come right at Big George to try to land that big left hook that he has, but I think if George Foreman can elude the fight and he takes Tommy Morrison past the 3rd round, the fight is more favorable to him because he's used to going 10 rounds or more.
How will Morrison handle the pressure of the big event? Fighting a fighter who's risen to cult hero status.
Morrison has a tendency, no matter how much he says he's not going to do it, to tighten up in his big fights. If he tightens up and spins himself before he takes George out, he's in trouble. Because George will sense it. If George senses you're in any trouble, he'll put you out of your misery.
And does Foreman underestimate Morrison's power?
In order to stand in front of me, he's going to have to take the same risk that I do. And this is a younger, just as powerful type of person. Different type of power, but it's still power.
I'm going up against a guy who can punch. You can see, it doesn't matter what style he has, what he can do or what he can't do. He can punch. Nobody can take that away from him. And when everything else exhausts itself, you got to still worry about his punch.
So, can the 44-year-old withstand Morrison's left hook? Will the younger fighter freeze and lose his composure against the powerful jab of Foreman? on June 7th. We'll see.
George Foreman, an American institution. Tommy Morrison, the up-and-coming slugger from the nation's heartland. Two symbols of the American spirit, headed for a collision. This is going to be a star-spangled battle. Catch the fireworks as the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash head-on for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view. Call now to order.
On Monday, June 7th, two men moving in opposite directions will meet in the middle of the ring. For George Foreman, the king of comebacks.
George Foreman will retire after June 7th. And I think that's important because people will not get a chance to see one of the 7 wonders of the modern sporting world.
For Morrison, a new beginning as he faces a major crossroad in his career.
Well, this is very important. I mean, this is a very pivotal fight in my career. By beating George, this is kind of a shortcut to not only heavyweight title, but also some bigger and better things.
This Hollywood golden boy proved he was no pushover as he knocked out 24 of his first 28 opponents.
You know me from Rocky V. In real life, I'm Tommy the Duke Morrison, a heavyweight with 24 knockouts, and I'm going to the top.
But in 1991, Morrison went up against a powerful Ray Mercer.
Mercer with 2 good right hands. And now Mercer on Morrison in the corner. And Mercer's all over him, and Morrison in trouble. And Morrison goes down for the first time in his career.
It proved to be a devastating experience, one from which many fighters never truly recover.
I always wondered whether I was going to be able to emotionally come back from something like that. And I consider that probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, with the exception of the 18 shots I took to the head. It was then, after that I realized maybe I didn't have all the answers.
Ironically, it was an experienced George Foreman who stepped forward with the answers and a little fatherly advice.
We talked over the telephone. He offered some suggestions to me. I think now he's starting to see the not-so-good parts have helped me do that, because he realized that some of the things that he offered me, I wouldn't be taking there against him. I don't think that he realized that one day that we actually would meet like this.
Heeding Foreman's advice, Morrison continued to battle his way to victory. June 7th will be the crossroads. A win puts him in line to fight for the undisputed heavyweight title, while a loss places his career in serious jeopardy.
This is, for Tommy Morrison, sort of like Yogi Berra's famous line, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. He's going to have to decide which one he takes going into this fight and coming out.
In 1973, Morrison was barely 4 years old when a young Foreman took on Smokin' Joe for the heavyweight title. A big victory for George. But a year later, he too met a crossroad when he suffered his first defeat at the hands of an experienced Muhammad Ali.
It's not about winning and losing, it's giving your all. And when you lose, you get smarter, because you know it doesn't taste nice. You want to come back and win more.
After a 10-year layoff, a string of victories proved Foreman a very worthy contender. It is a comeback which has captivated the American public.
What I'm doing is fulfilling the American dream. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The only part of that dream which has eluded George on the comeback trail has been the ability to regain a championship belt. Going the distance with Evander Holyfield, Foreman left the ring with a moral victory, while Evander held on to his title. In what will be his last bout, old George will match his skills against a powerhouse with a strong left hook, Tommy the Duke Morrison. A win for Foreman would mean the opportunity to go out a champion. For Morrison, the chance to prove that he has the potential to ever become a champion.
George has been very, very selective about who he fights. And now it's kind of this will be kind of like the night of truth for him. I mean, people want to see him fight somebody that's capable of beating him.
June 7th would be something special in my life. It will probably be the last time anyone will ever see me in a boxing ring. And I want to go out in grand style. I want to put that championship belt around my neck and walk on out of there real cool. Like.
I will say one thing. It's a WBO title. but it is the best title match in 1993. This is an exciting fight, and an exciting fight makes an exciting title match. Morrison versus Foreman, or alphabetically, Foreman versus Morrison, is a hell of a fight.
Look, the fight with George Foreman and Tommy Morrison on June the 7th, you cannot get on regular television. You've got to order this fight a week before the event. Remember, don't wait until the last day. You may not be able to get it. The lines may be too busy. Order the fight 1 week before George Foreman and Tommy Morrison. Pay-per-view.
We hope you enjoyed this sneak peek of what's to come on Monday, June 7th, when Big George Foreman takes on Tommy the Duke Morrison, only on Impulse.
Throw your plunge, slip the jab. Tommy Morrison, get in here right now. Oh, Mom.
And there's another left hook.
That Morrison is good, real good.
It was just announced Tommy Morrison will fight former champion George Foreman for the WBO.
See the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view.